The Deluxe Edition Network, also known as The Den, is an incredible podcast network that offers a wide variety of entertaining and informative podcasts.
With a lineup of shows covering various topics, such as interviews with a wide variety of guests, history, music, relationships, true crime, and so much more. The Den provides content that caters to a diverse range of interests.
The hosts and guests on the Deluxe Edition Network demonstrate a deep passion and expertise in their respective fields, making each episode on each show engaging and thought-provoking.
The network fosters a sense of community by encouraging listeners to interact through live chats, social media, and forums, creating an inclusive environment for discussion and sharing opinions.
With its commitment to high-quality production, the shows in the Deluxe Edition Network continue to captivate and entertain its ever-growing audience.
Whether you're a podcast enthusiast or someone looking to explore new topics, The Den is a fantastic platform to dive into and uncover fascinating insights from experts in their fields.
The Deluxe Edition Network is the home of independent awesomeness.
To find all these great podcasts in one convenient location, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Films and Fermentation, episode 137. That's right, we are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Leo.
Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. Tonight's episode 137, is titled, You Can't Handle the Booze, which is a play on words from the famous line from A Few Good Men, you can't handle the truth. Because tonight, folks, we are going to prosecute and defend our favorite courtroom films. Will the crowd object to our arguments? Will they be sustained or overruled? Keep listening to find out. And that's about the extent of court knowledge that I have to come up with a script for that.
I object. All my court knowledge comes from movies.
All my court knowledge comes from Law and Order.
Yeah.
All my court knowledge comes from Phoenix, right? The video game.
All rise for the Honorable Judge Marshall Stevens.
Honorable.
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
Did they plead not guilty?
The defendant is not guilty.
You're the one who's guilty.
I'm going to set your bail at $3,000.
Your bail is $20,000.
$50,000 bail.
For $50,000.
$2,000 and bailiff, throw this jackass out of my court!
Yes, Your Honor.
Call the first witness.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So anyway,
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
And the truth shall set you free.
I know this isn't easy for you.
What were these other photographs of, Mr. Burke?
Is that a question?
Did you say utes?
Yeah, 2 utes.
What is a ute?
I am instructing my client not to answer that question on the grounds of self-incrimination.
The prosecution is not going to get that man today. No. Because I'm going to get him.
I object, Your Honor. This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
I move we dismiss claim for damages on the grounds that those women were not here. Shut up!
I don't want these two fellas pitching knuckleballs at me at the same time.
I object, Your Honor. Sit down.
Your Honor, I object.
You would!
Bastard!
Hey!
Move to strike that from the record, Your Honor. It's speculation.
So stricken.
Objection overruled.
Overruled.
To overrule the objection. Thank you, Your Honor.
Now you may proceed, Mr. Biegler.
Your Honor, I'd like to say a few words to the court, if I may.
Now listen, this is a cross-examination murder case. It's not a high school debate.
You lady, come here!
Then you're just a bunch of lousy, yellow, stinking cowards!
Sir, you're out of order.
Order in the court.
Order!
Your Honor?
Shut up! Strike down, Mr. Vigoda.
You're out of order.
You're out of order! You're out of order!
Is that justice?
You must learn the law.
What do you love about the law, Andrew? Many things.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I know you've spent all morning listening to Mr. Broigo talk. I know you're hungry.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you've heard a lot here today, and I'm not going to try to go back over it all again for you.
I'd hate to be in your shoes today. You have a lot to think about. You've seen much hidden evidence the American public has never seen.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
In the name of God, do your duty.
Have you reached a verdict? We have, Your Honor. We find the defendant not guilty.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Clay Shaw, not guilty.
All right. So don't forget to drop us an email at filmsoffermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsoffermentation. Find all of our social media and podcast links. Become part of the Films of Fermentation family by supporting us at Patreon or buying our merchandise at teespring.com. We are now part of the Deluxe Edition Network, The Den. Find out more about us and the other podcasts at the Deluxe Edition Network by visiting deluxeeditionnetwork.com. And our last episode, episode 136, the recasting of The Wizard of Oz, has entered into the top 5 of our most downloaded episodes ever. It is number 4 on the list, knocking out the career of Ron Howard. Ron Howard episode dropped to number 6 on our list of downloaded episodes.
Wow.
Number 5, Mike, is Loudly Remembering the Quiet Man.
Man, that one keeps fighting.
It's very close to getting knocked out of the top 5.
Wow.
But yeah, so our last episode quickly became one of our most downloaded ones.
Nice.
So thank you out there to everybody who is supporting the show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and especially download your favorite episodes. What are we drinking tonight, gentlemen?
Well, I'll go first.
Go first, sir.
Go first, Mike.
I have all these little mixer bottles sitting around the house I need to get rid of. So since we're doing lawyers and courts, and a lot of movies and shows have them Southern lawyers, I'm starting my night off with a mint julep.
I'll do declare.
I do
that
declare.
Is one of the
I say.
drinks I've ever had.
I do declare. This courtroom sucks.
I'll go next then, because speaking of mixed drinks, I am drinking a tequila mockingbird margarita.
Ooh.
Nice.
So it's tequila, creme de menthe, and lime juice to give it a little minty flavor and a little bit of a green color, but it doesn't really look on screen. It looks kind of blue, but it's a greenish color. So that's what I'm drinking. Kev, what do you got going on?
So I wish I had followed a theme of some sort, but I'm going with 2 new ones. One my wife brought back from Washington, D.C. on her trip most recently. I'll probably start off with that one. This is a cream ale by Two Silos Brewing Company in Manassas, Virginia. Okay? Ooh. This is an American cream ale infused with raw clover, honey, milk sugar, orange peel, and natural vanilla flavor
to create a velvety smooth, medium-bodied, and delectably delicious interpretation on this American classic. And best enjoyed fresh. And let me give you guys an ABV, 6% alcohol by volume. So
all right,
that's number one. And I will be following this with another sweet treat from my home state of Pennsylvania. This is a Victory Tasty Cake Coffee Cake Ale.
Nice. Tasty
yes.
cake.
Tasty cake.
For anybody not from the East Coast, that is an East Coast thing, man. Everybody loves the taste of a tasty cake.
That's right.
Yeah, but they went with the coffee cake and not the peanut butter.
This is good, but it's really light. You know, it's not a strong flavor.
I would have went with a tasty cake like Crimpet.
Yeah, crumpet or something.
Crimpet,
Not
or like
coffee cake, yeah.
or like a lemon pie or something like that. I originally tonight was going to do something different for my drink. So the other, I think it was the last show, I told you guys that Katie and I ordered from this company called Oak and Eaton that allows you to make your own bourbons.
Right.
So you pick out like the flavor and how you want it infused and all that. And so we got our bourbons the other night, and I was going to judge them on the show tonight. Take a shot of each one and judge them. And I was like, you know what? In case I don't like them, I don't want to do that live.
So I bring them over tomorrow night so we can both taste them.
Well, I can take them over if you want, and you can try them out. But I judged them last night, and I wasn't like super impressed by it.
Ooh.
It's a bourbon whiskey base, and then you pick an oak cork, like spiral cork, to go into the bottle, and that spiral cork is dipped in a flavor that then infuses the whiskey. And so we had a coffee one.
Service.
We had a coffee one, and we had a maple one.
Whoa.
What do you got there, sir?
Some pizza and French fries.
Nice.
Where's my pizza?
Whoa. The gentlemen are wondering where their pizza's at. The boys want to know where their slices are.
Oh, they're downstairs.
They're downstairs. You guys know where the kitchen is.
I'll come over later. I scarfed my dinner down before we started recording.
Hold on, let me transfer this to my phone so I can get in the car.
We've done shows on the phone before. We know how they turn out.
We zooming in from the phone. I just bought a brand new mic so I could do it on the phone. Yeah. But yeah, so like the bourbons were okay. Like they had a little bit of the flavor of the infusion. I don't know if they need to air out a little bit more or something, maybe, but they were okay. They weren't like the best bourbons I ever had.
A little bit more, sit for
a little bit more infusion, and like it's two different kinds of bourbons. One's like a straight bourbon, and the other one is a 4-grain whiskey. So the 4-grain whiskey one was a little stronger. It burned a little bit. And the other one was a little smoother. But anyway, anything special happened this week, Mike?
This week in film history.
This month in film history.
It's only been 137 episodes, Mike. You'll get it right eventually.
Well, we did start off as this day in film history. Just moved up to this week. So I'm a lapse back to the old days every so often. Oh, so in 1926, John Logie Baird gives the first public demonstration of television in his laboratory in London.
And the first thing he sent was a picture of a ventriloquist puppet, just kind of like sitting there, just to transmit the image. We learned about this on the Giggle episode of the Doctor Who 60th anniversary series. when the doctor took on the toy maker. That's the only reason I know this fact.
Yeah.
What do you got next?
In 1931, Cinnamon, directed by Wesley Ruggles, starring Richard Dix and Aaron Dunn, premieres in New York. The first Western to win Best Outstanding Production Picture in 1931.
Yeah, so you want to do some potluck movies, Mike? You throw me a movie from the 30s, I probably haven't seen it.
I can throw some John Wayne's at you.
like a movie from the 30s, I probably haven't seen. Otherwise, I would have been really all over the fact that that actor's name is Dick Dix.
Oh boy!
The next fact I actually heard in school this week from one of the teachers.
In 1961, the first live national televised presidential news conference held by JFK.
I actually think it was on Tuesday's date that the first live occurrence this past Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
So today's the 26th. So we're recording on Friday the 26th. So this would have been Tuesday the 23rd. So or no 24th. Wait, 27, 26,
23rd. You're right.
Carry the 2 divided by 5.
Can't even do math for dates. This guy, Jesus.
Fuck, man! I told you, math is the reason I taught English for 20 years. What's our next fact there?
1940, The Grapes of Wrath, directed by John Ford and based on John Steinbeck's novel of the same name, starring Henry Ford and Jane Darwell, is released.
Henry Fonda.
Also, the inspiration for the California Raisins of the 1980s.
So I was going to say, you beat me to it. The sequel came out in 1942. It was called The Raisins of Revenge. And the last fact.
This one's for Lee.
Yeah.
1984, Hulk Hogan defeats the Iron Sheik.
The Iron Chef.
I've been drinking way too early tonight. Yeah, I can't even talk. The Iron Sheik to win the first World Wrestling Federation title at Madison Square Garden in New York City.
Back then, it was the Worldwide Wrestling Federation title, the WWF.
Yes.
And do you know what move he used to beat the Iron Sheik, Mike?
With that leg drop, wasn't it?
No, it was not. He did not use the leg drop to win his first championship. He used a small package pin.
It was a folding chair.
It was a small package pin to win his first championship. Yep.
Wow. I didn't even know that he knew how to do a small package.
And speaking of that, Mike, since you and I are both wrestling fans, do you know if Roman Reigns retains the title at WrestleMania, he will beat Hogan's record for the second longest title reign in history?
So The Rock's going to stop that then, huh?
No, I don't think I think it's a passing of the torch match.
Now, I had heard Hulk Hogan had said it was a average size pen, not a small package pen.
Not a small package?
No, it's an average size.
It was cold
it's
inside
a
Madison Square
well-sized
Garden.
pen. It was a cold stadium.
It was a cold stadium. They had the air on high.
Yes, cold stadium.
It was New York this time of year. Yeah, it's cold. Come on.
You have any must-try beer craft destination for this evening, Mike?
Have a must-try beer. This is Hazy IP from Dogfish Head Craft Brewing, Milton, Delaware. O is for oats here. One of the ways brewers add the fluffy mouth feel to hazy, juicy IPAs is to smash ton with grains like flaky barley, flaked wheat, and yes, you guessed it, oats. Oats come in four forms: malted, rolled, naked, and oat milk. The usual mango, pineapple, and pine are
Burgundy.
Pine aromatics dominate the aroma. Put the best part of the beer on your palate. There you go, boys. Dogfish Head Brewery.
We've all had Dogfish Head Brewery.
Yes, we have. I don't think I've had the hazy IPA.
No,
I've been to their brewery. It's not far from a favorite vacation spot of mine. It's in Rehoboth, or at least it has multiple locations, but it's in one along the Delaware beaches. And I used to go down to Ocean City, Maryland. So good brewery, good beer.
They are the Raging Bitch beer, aren't they? Yeah. All right. So the Oscars were announced this week. I'm just gonna blow through a few of these things real quickly because I've started my watch of Best Picture nominees, and I'm trying to get through the list before the Oscars. And so far, I've seen a few of these. So the Best Picture nominees this year are American Fiction, which is definitely on my list. It really sounds like a good movie. Anatomy of a Fall, which I don't know much about. Barbie, which I've seen. The Holdovers, which I just watched recently, and it is a really good movie, really funny movie. Kind of reminiscent of Dead Poet Society in a little way, and probably Paul Giamatti's best performance he's ever had. It's a really, really good movie. Killers of the Flower Moon, I have yet to see because I don't have 8 hours to put aside yet to watch that film. I saw Maestro, which is the Bradley Cooper epic that he directed, wrote, and starred in. Good performances. The movie was a little slow for me. I saw Oppenheimer. I think Oppenheimer's going to win. I actually hope it wins. I think it is the best movie of the year so far. I have not seen Past Lives or Poor Things yet. And the next one on my list is Zone of Interest because I knew nothing about this movie. And then after reading the description, I was like, I got to see this. Zone of Interest is about it's based on a true story. It's about the German soldier who ran the Auschwitz concentration camp. And the movie is about he and his family live on a villa right next to the concentration camp. So it's about like his family's life living next to Auschwitz, and it sounded really interesting after I read it. So I was like, that one I'm checking out too. Best actors are Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. Right now, I think Cillian Murphy is most likely going to win, but it's like between him and Paul Giamatti right now.
Mm-hmm.
Best actress is Annette Bening for Nyad, Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, Emma Stone for Poor Things, and Carey Mulligan for Maestro. And right now, it looks like it's another 2-horse race between Lily Gladstone for Killers and Emma Stone for Poor Things.
Yeah.
Best Supporting Actress is Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction, Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling for Barbie, Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things. Robert Downey Jr. looks like the runaway winner for this category. And I think after all the years and all the work he's put in, he deserves finally to get an Oscar for his acting. And he was amazing in Oppenheimer. I thought he stole the scenes that he was in. Ryan Gosling getting the only nomination for Barbie is kind of ironic because the movie is all about taking down the patriarchy, and neither Margot Robbie nor Greta Gerwig, the director, got nominations.
Yep. They got snubbed.
And I like that he pointed that out,
Yeah, he pointed it out. And
he could have just been, I'm grateful for this, but yeah.
Yeah, and keeping up with his consistency at getting snubbed at the Oscars, DiCaprio did not get a nomination for Killers of the Flower Moon. Best Supporting Actress is Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, America Ferrera for Barbie, Jodie Foster for Nyad, and Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. Divine Joy Randolph should win. She stole The Holdovers movie. She was amazing. She is currently on Only Murders in the Building. She is the detective who shows up to try to help them. That's Divine Joy Randolph. Yeah, she is really, really good in The Holdovers. And for Best Director, Jonathan Glazer for Zone of Interest, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, Chris Nolan for Oppenheimer, Scorsese for Killer of the Flower Moon, and Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall. Nolan is finally getting his Oscar. An Oscar that I think he's deserved for a few films that he's directed over the years. So he's finally getting his Oscar for Oppenheimer. Yeah. Tenet. I feel like he probably deserved one for Dunkirk. Dunkirk was so fucking amazing.
Dunkirk was
should have gotten Dunkirk. All right, but even more important than the Oscars, the Razzies were announced this week as well. Razzies given to the worst films of the year. Here are your Razzie nominees.
And Leo has watched every one of them.
I've watched a couple of them. You'll see if you can guess which ones I've watched.
Okay.
Here are your worst picture nominees: The Exorcist Believer, Expendables 4, Meg 2, The Trench,
You watched that
Shazam,
one.
Fury of the Gods, and Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
You watched Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
I have watched Winnie the Pooh.
You watched the
Meg 2.
I watched the Meg 2 because I saw the Meg 1. I like the Meg.
I like the Meg 2.
That is actually all I've seen. I have not seen the other films. As much as I love the Expendable films and Kevin too, because we've seen all three of them together at the theater, I did not see the Expendables 4. I even forgot that came out.
Great comedy, sit back, laugh your ass off comedy film.
Here are your actors nominated for Worst Actor of the Year. Russell Crowe for The Pope's Exorcist. I actually like The Pope's Exorcist. I thought it was a fun movie, and he gives the most over-the-top Italian accent I've ever heard in a film.
Is it equal to that of Zeus from
It was
Thor,
kind
Love
of
and
like
Thunder?
his Greek and his Italian accent are very similar to each other. The Italian accent was just a little more over the top because it was the whole movie. He's like, I am the Pope as an exorcist. Vin Diesel for Fast X, Chris Evans for Ghosted, Jason Statham for Meg 2, The Trench, and John Voight for Mercy. Worst actress nominees, this hurts my heart. Ana de Armas for Ghosted. Although, having seen clips of the movie, it's not a good film from what I've seen. Megan Fox for Johnny and Clyde. Salma Hayek for Magic Mike's Last Dance. Jennifer Lopez for The Mother. And Dame Helen Mirren for Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Shouldn't this be Megan Fox because she acted?
Yeah, she was in Expendables 4. Could have been for that, too. Worst supporting actress, Kim Cattrall for About My Father. Megan Fox for Expendables 4. She's a double nominee. Bai Ling for Johnny and Clyde. Lucy Liu for Shazam. Mary Stuart Masterson for Five Nights at Freddy's. And your worst supporting actor, Michael Douglas for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Mel Gibson for Confidential Informant. Bill Murray for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Frank Nero as the Pope in The Pope's Exorcist. And Sly Stallone for Expendables 4.
Man, they really shit on a couple of these movies here.
I love this one. Worst screen couple. Any two of the merciless mercenaries from the Expendables. Any two of the money-grubbing investors who donated $400 million for the remake rights to The Exorcist. Ana de Armas and Chris Evans for flunking screen chemistry. Salma Hayek and Channing Tatum for Magic Mike's Last Dance. And Pooh and Piglet as the bloodthirsty killers in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Piglet and Pooh's going to win that one. Come
on. They're already making a sequel. And before we move on, I'll throw Kevin this fact that I saw earlier that I think he'll like about his favorite actress, Heather Graham. Heather Graham holds a special record, Kev. She has the quickest sitcom to be canceled in the history of Hollywood. Probably didn't even know she was on a sitcom of her own.
Two guys, a girl, and a pizza place?
She starred in a sitcom called Emily's Reasons Why Not. That was aired on January 9th, 2006. The first episode was received so poorly, the studio canceled it during the first commercial break. And they never showed the second episode.
They never came back from the commercial break.
They came back from the break, but they never showed another episode of it. So, Kev, you have any beer news is good news for us tonight?
I do.
Beer news is good.
This is going to make my dear friend Leo a very happy man. It's back. Sam Adams has brought forth the 2023, because this is a little old, but that's okay. Utopia beer. You remember?
Yeah. The
$200
bottle of beer. The one we weren't allowed to taste because the alcohol content was so high.
I'm going to go into that a little bit now. So it was introduced in 2001. It's released only every other year. It has a alcohol content. It's illegal in 15 states. Let me go over the states that it's illegal in. It's illegal in Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Idaho, Missouri, Mississippi, Montana, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Oregon, South Carolina, Utah, Vermont, and West Virginia. And the reasons for this is
they don't want no Yankee beer.
Well, one of them was Rhode Island. They're all red states.
Vermont. It's 28% alcohol by volume.
By that time, that's not beer. That's downright liquor.
Yeah.
It is what they call an extreme beer, blended in multiple batches and aged in multiple types of barrels. Utopia has always been aged in a charred whiskey cask. And in 2023, in November 2023, when it was released, the Sam Adams Brewers expanded the kind of barrels for more complex flavors. So it's been bourbon barrels. They use Scotch and peated whiskey barrels, peated Scotch barrels, and add a wisp of smoke. They use flavors, like Ruby Port. I can't even say the name of that. Carcavelos casks from Portugal. Does that sound familiar to either one of you? Yeah. Brewed in Ohio, aged in Pennsylvania, and blended in Massachusetts, and bottled in Delaware. So,
It's around.
We have a little representation here.
So, Mike, just so you know, like when Kevin and I were up in Boston, we did the tour of the Sam Adams Brewery. And at the end of the tour, you get a tasting. And you're only allowed, by Massachusetts law, so many ounces of alcohol per tasting, because it can't go over a certain ABV. So we got 3 small tasters of 3 different kinds of beer. And then they brought out the Utopia, which is so strong that you can't take a sip of it. You could just smell the bottle. So we got to smell the bottle. It straight up smelled like maple syrup.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that the girl giving the tour says that she has a bottle at home that she uses on her pancakes.
Wow. Do you remember what they quoted the price now when we were down there?
I think it was $250 for $250 a bottle.
Yes, $240 now. So maybe the price.
Or maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was $150 a bottle. Or something. I know
$240 for a bottle of this. It was released on October 30th, just this past October. The bottle's 24.5 ounces, and they recommend serving it at 2 ounces a portion at room temperature in a snifter.
So you
a sniffer, rather.
Up. It's how long did they say they brew it for? 7 years or something like that?
Yes,
it's like fermented for a really long time.
Yeah.
So that makes sense that it's not being released again until most recently 2023.
Yes.
Probably not again to 2030 or 2030.
So the next batch will be released in late 2025,
Oh, so it's 2 years.
They're doing 2 years, but I do believe that they do age it for, like you said, 7 years, and they just have it set up this is the 2025 batch.
All right.
Right.
So on odd number years, they probably release it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Utopia. If anybody's looking out there to get a gift for your favorite hosts at Films and Fermentation, you can always send us a bottle of Utopia beer. God knows I can't afford it myself. All right, everybody. That brings us to our favorite segment. Synopsis according to Glip. Brought to you by Newsly.me. Newsly.me is an audio super app for iOS and Android that reads news to you in a natural human voice. Stop scrolling and start listening. Go to Newsly.me today and download the promo code N for men to get the first month's premium subscription for free. Last week, we did our 136th episode. It was a recasting of The Wizard of Oz. We had a lot of fun during that episode. We came up with some really good casting choices, I thought. This is what Glip said the episode was about, though. Leo asked Mike about what happened this year. Mike tells him. Leo is mixing his gin with Sprite because he's a classy guy. Kevman tells us that beer news is good news. The participants are picking actors for The Wizard of Oz. Leo says they are not cowardly lions about it. Leo said Mike picked the Wicked Witch of Westeros to be the Wicked Witch of the West. Mike thinks Bruce has comedic chops, but Kevman prefers John's ham.
John's ham.
Leo wants Donald Glover in all his movies.
That's
the
true.
Participants tried to decide where Christopher Walken would go. Leo wants Ginger in his gingham gown, and Kevman wants a Dorothy actress who is guided by men. Leo likes Mike and Kevin's choices more than his own. Again, another fairly accurate one, if not a little off the wall.
Written by a third grader.
So
Leo asked Mike what happened this year. Mike tells him.
So Mike, that's all about Mike's This Year in Film History segment. I mixed that overproof gin that Mike got me with some Sprite last week and got myself pretty fucked up. We added the Beer News is Good News segment last week that Kev brought for us. And we recasted The Wizard of Oz. And I did say we weren't being cowardly about it. Mike did pick Lena Headey to be his Wicked Witch of the West. Bruce Campbell is the man with comedic chops. John's Ham is actually John Hamm. I do want Donald Glover in all my movies. We did have a little fun putting Christopher Walken in the various roles in the film. The ginger in the gingham gown is my pick of Sadie Sink to play Dorothy. And Kevman picked his actress because she's used to being guided by men in her movies or something. I think was what you said. I don't even remember how you said it. But that's what the clip I think you said. And I did like some of your choices better than my own. In fact, I put our choices up on a poll on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Poll? Yeah, stripper poll. And I asked everybody what they thought and who had the best results and who had the best casting and all that. And garnering roughly 55% of the vote after like adding it up across all the media. Kevin had the most choices, the most votes. Mike and I split the other 45%, basically.
Really?
Yeah. But now, granted, the difference between numbers wasn't like extreme.
Yeah.
They kind of added up. But we did get a comment on Facebook by Matt Lindsay, who wrote, Leo's picks for me. I was almost like, hey, Donald Glover should be the Scarecrow. But then I saw you put Shooty Gutwa there, and I was like, nice. But boo to Mike for saying ever that General Kenobi would lack courage. Boulder Dash.
Hello there.
You, of course, picked Ewan McGregor to be your cowardly lion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think he can play the part well.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was a funny comment. Thank you, Matt Lindsay, for your comment. Thank you, everybody who voted for our last program. And again, who helped us get that program into our top 5 for most downloaded shows. Mike, what are you drinking now?
I have now moved on to my whiskey sour with double shot of whiskey. Here we go, guys.
You're going for all the Southern Courtroom drinks.
Yes, sir.
And so Kevin teaches a film theory class at his school, and recently
about YouTube
brought his kids the recasting Wizard of Oz question to see what they could come up with for the Wizard of Oz modern take. And I'm curious to hear what some of his students picked.
Okay. So I'm going to say the one Dorothy Gale that really stood out to me. First and foremost, Millie Bobby Brown was the go-to. That was resounding. Yeah. But the one that stuck out with me was Storm Reed. If you're familiar, she was in The Last of Us. She was in A Wrinkle in Time.
Okay.
Young African-American actress, and just her appearance and her singing ability, I think she would make a great Dorothy.
She's the girl that Bella Ramsey's character was had a relationship with or whatever in the film in The Last of Us, right?
Yes.
She gets killed in the mall.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers.
Spoiler.
No, that's a good choice. It's funny because it's this. You chose Bella Ramsey, so it's like a little.
And I chose Bella Ramsey, who was also in The Last of Us. Yeah. This one. Oh, this one was good for the Scarecrow. Lin-Manuel, which I could see after watching Hamilton.
That's a really good one.
Isn't that spot
I saw
on?
a couple lists out there, yeah.
Yeah, it's a spot on one. That's when I'm a little disappointed I didn't think of that one. That's a really good one.
Yeah,
right.
He could probably play any of those 3 roles.
Yes,
any of the 3 companion roles. I think
Lin-Manuel. But I think his lankiness and his movability.
Makes for the Scarecrow.
Actually, he's short enough to play Toto too. So
you're not recasting Toto; it's too legendary.
Now, whereas he was my favorite, he was not by far the one that was picked the most. Jim Carrey was the one that many students had said would make for a good Scarecrow.
I'm surprised that many of your students, know who Jim Carrey is at this point. Funny.
He popped up quite often.
I'd say when he was younger,
Mm-hmm.
maybe because he was so rubbery and agile and everything. I don't know now. He's almost 65 now. I don't know if he can do it now.
Hey, look, Madonna's 65 and she's still touring apparently.
Yeah, but that's Madonna.
All right, what's
I'm not going to get into the Tin Man. I mean, there were a couple good suggestions for the Tin Man, but nothing that really stood out. Ryan Gosling came up. Okay, I can see him as the Tin Man. He's got the chops for the singing and the dancing. But I'm going to jump to the Cowardly Lion because I had two which really stood out. Seth Rogen.
Okay.
As one of them. I could see that, him being the goofy, pothead that he is. Or this one, Josh Gad.
Who?
Yeah,
Josh Gad.
Josh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's another really good one.
Yeah.
That's a really, really good one. I like him more than Seth Rogen, I think, for that role.
Skipping over Glinda, there was somebody who had suggested, let me see if I can find that one really quick, that the Glinda the Good Witch was actually portrayed by a guy named Jerry Trainer who was in iCarly, but he's also been in other things.
I know who he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
They said his charm and humor would bring a different and playful vibe to the character. I can't speak to that. I don't know him, but I like that they were thinking outside the box with that.
Knowing what I know about him, he'd be a good scarecrow as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's got that kind of
This
vibe.
student also came up with, and this is another one for the Cowardly Lion, Joe Pesci.
For Glinda? For the Cowardly Lion?
No, for the Cowardly Lion. For the Cowardly Lion.
I think Pesci's a bit old.
Mike Howard, do I amuse you?
Maybe the Wicked Witch.
Put him up. I'll shoot you in your face, you motherfucker.
I didn't bite him.
Don't make me get my fucking fire monkeys on you.
Why, we're king of the fucking forest.
Some had mentioned Angelina Jolie for the Wicked Witch of the West.
Well, she did play what? She did
Maleficent.
play Maleficent. So
yeah,
right. So that kind of fits in there. But I'm going to skip to the Wizard of Oz because there were two really good ones that I liked. Three. There were many, but one that got a couple votes was Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito for the Wizard, which I think was
they're basing that on him in Big Fish.
Yeah. Somebody had said if he was still alive, Robin Williams would make a good wizard, which I completely stand behind.
That. He's another one probably could have been any of the characters. Yeah, he could have been Dorothy.
He could do the whole cast, the whole movie by himself.
And then somebody had said but they were torn between Christopher Walken and Morgan Freeman.
And then you played our clip of Christopher Walken for them.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
We are. We're going to take a quick break for some promos. And when we come back, we're going to go to our main segment. Our main segment tonight, we're looking at Courtroom films. Our lists are provided by IMDb. So we'll see you in a little bit.
Face it, dating sucked in your 20s, gets worse in your 30s, and your 40s, forget it.
It's a cesspool out there, and we're your flotation device.
Join us weekly for saucy chat, ridiculous love gurus,
and MILF-worthy fun to spice up your life.
The Milf and Me podcast. Every Wednesday on your favorite pod platform.
And the MILFandMePod.com.
The Milf and Me podcast.
Bev's Video Kingdom.
Because the movies won't talk about themselves.
So Andy crawls through this river of shit. He comes out, visits a dozen banks, and no one's like, I'm a little concerned about the guy in the suit.
Right.
It smells like shit.
You mean the guy that literally washed himself in a river full of shit and is supposed to suddenly smell good?
Dude, that's completely the Mallrats stink palm, which takes like 3 or 4 days to wash off.
Oh, last time I scratched my ass, it smelled like Bigfoot's dick for a week.
Bev's Video Kingdom. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Have you ever watched the news and wished that you could see something more positive, or looked online and saw all the aggravation and anger and hatred out there and thought to yourself, why can't I just see more positive things in my life? Hi, I'm Mike Rathbun, and I'm the host of the Kindness Matters podcast. Every week, we promise to bring you stories that will uplift you and motivate you and inspire you to see the kindness and be the kindness that this world needs more of. Tune in, the Kindness Matters podcast with me, your host, Mike Rathbun.
All right, so that brings us to our main segment. You Can't Handle the Booze. Tonight we're talking about some courtroom films. So how we decided to do it tonight is instead of just putting together a list like we normally do, we went with some formal lists tonight, going through to IMDb and checking out some of the IMDb user lists to see what other people out there had to say about this. So we have two lists from IMDb, the 25 best courtroom dramas and the 25 best, or however many are on this list, the funniest courtroom drama or courtroom films. So we're looking at dramas and comedies. And then after we get through that list, I have an honorable mention for what I call the most batshit crazy law movie of all time, which we will take a look at the end. So let's look at the dramas first, and we're going to take a look at what these people voted for on IMDb and see if we agree with them or not, or what is the best film, courtroom film of all time. So before we get to that, I did a Twitter poll earlier, and my Twitter poll was, what is the best courtroom film of all time? And the choices I gave them were My Cousin Vinny, A Few Good Men, To Kill a Mockingbird, or Other. And the other they would put in the comments of the question. You only do four answers on the Twitter poll.
Right.
And the majority of the votes went towards To Kill a Mockingbird as the best courtroom film of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Followed by My Cousin Vinny and then A Few Good Men. Which I can't argue with that too much. Which should make those people happy because according to this IMDb list, To Kill a Mockingbird is the number one film. So I'm actually going to scroll down to the bottom and start from the bottom and work our way up.
Let's do that.
So we're going to go to number 25 here. It's actually got 27 on this list. Somebody must have added more. So number 27 on the list is The Firm, 1993, starring Tom Cruise.
That's an honorable mention.
These are honorable mentions, you think?
That's what it says under them, too.
There you go. Honorable mention. The Firm. A young lawyer joins a prestigious law firm only to discover that it has a sinister dark side. I really like this movie. I saw this in the theater. It's an early, it's like Tom Cruise before he became the Tom Cruise we know today. Still doing like a mix of different films. You have Wilford Brimley playing a heavy.
This was the start of the John Grisham trend.
This is an early John Grisham film. Only has a 6.9 on IMDb, which I'm shocked by. I thought it would have been a little higher, but
it doesn't have much in the courtroom, though. I mean, it's a lawyer and it's all law based, but there's not a lot of in the courtroom kind of scenery.
I mean, that could be why it's so low on this list because we're talking about films that are actually like courtroom based, which brings us to our next honorable mention, which is The Lincoln Lawyer, starring Matthew McConaughey. A lawyer defending a wealthy man begins to believe his client is guilty of more than just one crime. I'm familiar with it, but I have not seen The Lincoln Lawyer.
Now a television series.
It has a television series
now? Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yep, I forgot about that.
I've heard good things about this film, but I've not actually seen it. So, Mike, you can throw that into the potluck if you want.
Yeah, I want to add the two that I have as honorable mentions to this list then. I want to bring in Murder in the First.
Okay.
With Christian Slater, Kevin Bacon, and Gary Oldman. An eager and idealistic young attorney defends an Alcatraz prisoner accused of murdering a fellow inmate. The extenuating circumstances, his client had just spent over 3 years in solitary confinement. I think it's one of Kevin Bacon's best roles.
I'll be honest with you. When you said that earlier, for a minute, I got confused. I'm like, why does he want to put this movie? I was thinking of the Murder at 1600 with Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, no.
And I was like, wait, that's not a court film. Why does he want to put that on?
No.
Murder, yeah. What was the other one?
And I got confused and I thought it was Murder by Numbers.
The other one is Just Cause, starring Sean Connery, Lawrence Fishburne, Kate Capshaw, Blair Underwood, Scarlett Johansson, Ed Harris, all star cast. This one is a Harvard professor is lured back into the courtroom after 25 years to take a case of a young black man condemned to death for horrific murder of a child.
Heavy film.
Both of these, I thought, but both of them were very good movies, I thought.
Yeah.
Just Cause has a 6.4 on IMDb, when Murder in the First has a 7.3. So,
so I like Just Cause. Murder in the First, I think I've only seen once.
I thought it's a different take on a courtroom movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's not saying that he's innocent. It's saying you guys created a murderer.
Yeah.
This prison did. So I thought Kevin Bacon was incredible in that movie.
Bacon.
Bacon.
So the first movie on this list, and it's not considered an honorable mention, then, is A Cry in the Dark from 1988. It is a film starring Meryl Streep, Sam Neill, and Dale Reeves. It's a mother whose child was killed in a dingo attack in the Australian outback fights to prove her innocence when she is accused of murder.
A dingo ate my baby!
Yeah, I think that's where it comes from.
You think?
Dingo ate my baby. What can't Meryl?
Kevin's like, I'm not joking this time for once.
Yeah, I know. But Kevin actually had a fact that was right. I think that's the only thing that's really come out of that film. It's a lesser known Meryl Streep movie.
And the Seinfeld skit, maybe the dingo ate your baby.
Maybe. But it's like, what can she do? She can even play an Australian.
I thought she was the dingo.
Yeah. She probably did both roles for all I know. I have never seen A Cry in the Dark. It's actually like knowing that now though, like I think I kind of want to check it out just for that scene. I have seen the next one on the list, number 24, The Accused. After a young woman suffers a brutal gang rape in a bar one night, a prosecutor assists in bringing the perpetrators to justice, including the ones who encouraged and cheered on the attack. This got Jodie Foster her first Oscar for Best Actress in 1989. This is a 1988 film. It's a very good movie. Hard movie to watch.
Hard movie to watch. Yeah.
Heavy film. It's weird because Kelly McGillis is actually the lead in the film. She's first billed, but Jodie Foster won the Oscar for Best Actress for that movie, not even supporting actress. But yeah, good movie. When we get to a few more of these on the list, we can start talking about whether or not some should be higher than others. Right now, The Accused is at 24. So let's see what else we got here. Might need to be higher. We'll see what else we got on this list. Next one is The Accused. After Accused, The Rainmaker. Matt Damon, Danny DeVito, Claire Danes, and John Voight. An underdog lawyer takes on a fraudulent insurance company. This is another Grisham novel turned into movie. This is one that gets, I feel it's kind of like forgotten. It's the early film for Damon, but it's actually a really good movie. This is kind of like, I think, is this post Good Will Hunting? It's like right after Good Will Hunting. I think he had just done Good Will Hunting like the year before this. And so this is like the start of the Damon career.
Mm-hmm.
So that is number 23 on the list. I think that one's in a good spot, though.
Yeah, I think it's pretty
just looking at some of the ones that are coming up. A Time to Kill.
Another Grisham.
Another Grisham turned into film. Directed by Joel Schumacher, oddly enough. You look at this and you look at Batman and Robin, and you're like, how the fuck are these directed by the same guy?
He was good with drama. He was not good with anything else.
Like big budget,
right.
Studio
right.
films
he was
like
not
that.
Good. Right.
This is McConaughey again, Sandra Bullock, Sam Jackson, Kevin Spacey. It's an early film for McConaughey, very early film for Sandra Bullock. She was just coming off of Speed, and what was the other one she was in that year? Demolition Man, I think, was right before this as well. So this is like early for Sandra Bullock. This is one of the, I hate saying it because it kind of diminishes what the movie is about, because the movie is a pretty heavy film, but it's probably the hottest she's ever looked in a movie.
I think this is one of the best courtroom movies out there.
I really like
I'd agree. I'd agree. I think it's a very good
22 is way too low for that movie.
Yeah, I think it's a really low score for it. It's 7.5 on IMDb, which is pretty good rating, but it's voted at number 22. It would be higher than other films just based on the rating itself.
Yeah.
I saw this movie twice in the theater. That's how much I liked it. I think I saw it with a group of friends and then went back and saw it by myself because I was like, I really thought it was a really good movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very early role for Sam Jackson as well. Kevin Spacey at his slimiest before the real life stuff that made him even slimier. Yeah, Matthew McConaughey. Matthew McConaughey is the only thing that kind of sticks out in that film for me a little bit is McConaughey. Because this is before McConaughey was an Oscar winner and serious actor.
He was a very serious actor in that one, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's a really good movie. Time to Kill is a really good movie. Should be higher on the list, I think.
And I love where Matthew McConaughey was like, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty.
All right. How does your defendant plead? How do we all plead? When I sit here in my Lincoln, I think to myself, what is guilty? What is not guilty? Do I just object to life? The next one is, I love this fucking movie. I actually just saw this for the first time within the last year and have already watched it twice since then. It's And Justice for All. It's very early Pacino. It's 1979. So he's coming off a run in the 70s of doing The Godfather 2, Serpico, Dog Day Afternoon, Panic in Needle Park, and this film. I mean, he had a hell of the 70s. Is a lawyer forced to defend a guilty judge while defending other innocent clients and trying to find punishment for the guilty and provide justice for the innocent. What's interesting about this film is it's not like, you see these like big courtroom films and it's always like the lawyer is defending one person. They only have this one client that they have to worry about. This one actually shows the like day-to-day life of an assistant district attorney where he's defending multiple clients in one day. And then some of them are innocent, some of them are guilty, and he's, going back and forth between these cases. And then in the meantime, he's forced to defend a judge that he knows is guilty of the crime. But his job depends on it because the judge is so corrupt. He's like, he doesn't like him, so he makes him his lawyer to kind of force him to do it. It's a really, really good movie. And it ends with one of the best Al Pacino overacting performances of all time. I'm out of order. You're out of order. This whole courtroom's out of order. Yes, it was a very
great ass.
It was like a very early version of what he would go on to do in Scent of a Woman. It's like you see him in the court scene in Scent of a Woman in this movie, and you can see the seeds being planted for that performance. I really like this movie. It should be higher on the list too. Higher than 21. Brings us to Erin Brockovich at number 20. An unemployed single mother becomes a legal assistant and almost single-handedly brings down a California power company accused of polluting a city's water supply. Now, is this one a courtroom one, per se? Like, there's some court in it, but I don't know if this one is as much about the court as it is about her.
There's a lot of, legal research.
Yeah.
She's a paralegal. She does a lot of research. She does a lot of meetings with the other lawyers. I don't know if it actually ever gets to court because there's a lot of settlement going on.
Yeah, it's a lot of like you said, a lot of research, a lot of settlement, a lot of interviewing clients and stuff like that. It's like a lot of
the back behind the scenes stuff that happens.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's the work that a lawyer would have to do before going to court, basically. But she would never go to
true story.
Yeah, but she wouldn't go to court anyway because she's the paralegal. Like she's gathering information for the lawyer, who's played by Albert Finney in the movie. It's a good movie. It's an Oscar-winning performance for Julia Roberts. I would maybe put it lower on the list only because it's not in the courtroom. Like I'm looking at some movies that are in the courtroom. So I would maybe put a Time to Kill there, at least something a little bit higher that way. Number 19, I'm going to skip because that is my honorable mention for most batshit crazy court movie of all time. And I want to save that for the batshit courtroom movie. So we'll get to number 19 later. Number 18 is Michael Clayton, George Clooney. Oscar-winning performance by Tilda Swinton, as well as Tom Wilkinson and Michael O'Keefe. A law firm brings in its fixer to remedy the situation after a lawyer has a breakdown while representing a chemical company that he knows is guilty in a multi-billion-dollar class action suit. This is one of George Clooney's better performances. Very serious film. Tilda Swinton's amazing in it. Was kind of a surprise Oscar winner, but pretty deserving of it for her performance. It's at number 18. I would say it's possibly something that needs to go a little higher on the list, but we'll see what else we got on here. Look at this, number 17, Miracle on 34th Street from 1947.
Excellent courtroom scene.
Excellent courtroom scene.
Yeah.
You don't think of it.
And
too
I
much
love
as a
this
Christmas
movie.
film, but,
I love this movie.
I know you
would
guys voted this as the number one Santa Claus movie.
And I'm going to say, I don't think it should be this high.
More
I
Christmas
think
movie.
it's fine where it's at. I don't want it lower. It doesn't need to be higher. I think it's okay.
Well, there's some other movies that should be definitely higher than it is on that we've already gone
I think
through.
if I were going to knock it down again, I would probably put Time to Kill a little higher, Justice for All a little bit higher, maybe The Accused a little bit higher, and maybe
Just
drop that
because-
one a few spots, not too low.
The whole movie's not about the courtroom. It's just got a courtroom.
Well, half of the movie is, and it's the legal system. It's the courts versus Santa Claus.
Yeah, it's a good portion of the film. I mean, it's the whole third act. So I mean,
the whole third act.
More than Aaron Brockovich had.
Right. Well, yeah, I didn't say much about hers either. But some of these other ones, it's the whole act. The whole
You're telling me
Oh,
if you were telling me that if it was Miracle on 34th Street, the remake, I would say fuck you.
But good question. Which
But it
one had
is
a better
still,
close? Which one had the better closing argument for the climax?
It was the original.
The remake, where it was the dollar bill, or the original? Yeah, the original with the government agency.
Yes.
Okay.
I had the best. Yeah, by far.
All right.
Next film is another tough film to watch, man. It's Daniel Day-Lewis, Pete Postlethwaite, In the Name of the Father. Came out in 1993. I saw this in the theater when it came out. An Irishman's coerced confession to an IRA bombing he did not commit results in the imprisonment of his father as well. Meanwhile, a British lawyer fights to clear their names and free them. It's intense. It's. I think it's based on a true story. So he's framed for this IRA bombing and forced to confess to it. And so in being coerced into his confession, they bring his father into it too. And he and his father both get imprisoned for a bombing that neither one of them committed. The father ends up dying in prison before they can prove his innocence. It's fucking brutal.
And then I heard right that he had to practice painting with his feet for this role.
Yes, for My Left Foot he did that. Yes.
Oh, never mind.
Wrong movie.
For My Left Foot, he learned how to paint with his foot. Yes. In his short career, Daniel Day-Lewis won 3 Oscars and was nominated for almost every single performance that he's ever done, including this one. He didn't win for this, but he was nominated.
It's because he wasn't painting with his feet.
He wasn't painting. He did win an Oscar for painting with his foot. The next one, I forgot that this is a court movie.
Is it actually a court movie?
It's a court movie, yeah. I mean, it's about the trial of Sir Thomas More. So it's the story of Sir Thomas More, who stood up against King Henry VIII when the king rejected the Roman Catholic Church to obtain a divorce and remarry. It's basically like the kangaroo court. Like he's on trial to defend himself, but he's guilty no matter what anyway. And
yeah, because the king's going to make you guilty.
The king's going to make you guilty anyway, and the priests who work for the king and all that stuff. But it's an amazing movie. It's Paul Scofield, Wendy Wheeler, Robert Shaw. Paul Scofield won an Oscar for Best Actor for this. It's a really, really good movie. And I kind of forgot, you don't think of it because it's like not the court you're used to seeing in films, because it's whatever
British
it was,
court.
the 16th century or something like that. So, but yeah,
Damn
Court
Brits.
film. It's a really, really good movie. Man for All Seasons. The next one, I don't know this one. It's an Australian film, which could be why. Called number 14 on the list, Breaker Morant from 1980. 3 Australian lieutenants are court-martialed for executing prisoners as a way of deflecting attention from war crimes committed by their superior officers.
The Dingo ate our superior
Yeah.
officers.
Yeah, I can't say anything about this film because I've never seen it. I've never even heard of it. Breaker Morant. It's an Australian court film.
Dingoes ate our prisoners.
Yeah. I don't know why this is on the list of dramas, but My Cousin Vinny is number 13 on this list of courtroom dramas.
That's not much of a drama.
It's not a drama.
Whoa.
It's a
His
comedy.
cousin was being framed for murder.
I was going to say
there was murder on the table.
It's the
murder.
The crime, the murder is it's such a heavy crime that they're being convicted of. I guess that's maybe why, but I wouldn't put this on a list of dramas. Like, I would take this one off and maybe put like a few notches.
Yep.
But we'll talk about My Cousin Vinny anyway, because that is on the courtroom comedy list. Fucking number 12 is awesome. Primal Fear is a good fucking movie. It should be up this high on the list. Primal Fear.
Yeah.
It stars Richard Gere, Laura Linney. It's Edward Norton's first performance, and he got an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor for it. Amazing twist ending. An altar boy is accused of murdering a priest, and the truth is buried several layers deep. He seems like he has multiple personality disorder, or dissociative identity disorder, as they call it now. But therein lies the mystery. It's one of Richard Gere's best performances, and Edward Norton is fucking amazing in this film. So Primal Fear, number 12. That I think should be there. The next one I think should be higher.
I think it should be at least in the top 10.
Yeah, I think at least in the top 10.
And it's not just because we're all from around that area.
Yeah, and it's not just because of our relationship to the city that the movie's named after. Number 11 is Philadelphia, which came out in 1993, starring Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington, Roberta Maxwell, and Buzz Kilman. Tom Hanks won his first Oscar for Best Actor for this film. A man with HIV is fired by his law firm because of his condition. He hires a homophobic small-town lawyer as the only willing advocate for a wrongful dismissal suit. I kind of argue
heartbreaking.
The heartbreaking movie. I kind of argue that Denzel Washington is the star of this film now.
Yeah.
No, this is all.
I mean, I know Tom Hanks is the one that won the Oscar for it, and his performance is what steals the show. But it's kind of about Denzel Washington's journey from being somebody who's afraid of his client to kind of like becoming friends with him to really caring for the guy by the end and helping him win this case and becoming a better lawyer and all that. Fucking such a good movie, man. I have to watch this again. Yeah. It's one of those like a really sad movie and a tough movie.
Yeah, sometimes it can be tough to get through.
It's a tough watch, man, but for something about it makes it like a movie I can rewatch.
Right.
As opposed to something like The Accused. Like The Accused is fucking tough to watch more than once. But this one I can watch a lot, man. It's just because the performances are so good in it.
Yep.
It's also the first American film for Antonio Banderas. He plays Tom Hanks's partner in the film. Yeah, it's his first American.
What year did Interview with the Vampire come
out? Might have been the same year or the year after.
Okay.
But this is his first American role.
Okay.
Next one is In Cold Blood, starring Robert Blake, Scott Wilson, John Forsythe. This is based on the book written by Truman Capote, based on his interviews with this murderer. Two ex-cons murder a family in a robbery attempt before going on the run from the authorities. Police try to piece together the details of the murder and attempt to track down the killers. The oddest thing about this film is that Robert Blake would then later go on to be put on trial for killing his wife.
True enough.
I have not seen In Cold Blood, so I can't really say much about this. I can say something about number 9, a movie that definitely deserves to be in the top 10. Inherit the Wind. Based on the real-life case, the Scopes Monkey trial in 1925. Two great lawyers argue the case for and against a Tennessee science teacher accused of the crime of teaching evolution in the classroom. Stars Spencer Tracy, Frederick March, Gene Kelly, and Dick York. This is a great film based on an amazing play. It was one of my favorite books to read in school. It was one of my favorite books to teach. And it's an awesome story. Inherit the Wind definitely deserves to be in the top 10.
Mm-hmm. Strange not to see Gene Kelly in a dancing number, though.
I know, right? It's yeah. But it's
what? You never saw the Three Musketeers with Gene Kelly?
Did he dance in that one?
No.
Are you sure? I thought there was a tango scene.
No tango.
There was definitely a tango scene.
A tango scene.
There was. There was a rose in the mouth.
I think you're thinking of. Are you thinking of Zorro?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And that was Antonio Banderas.
Yeah. The next one is definitely another top 10 courtroom film, Kramer versus Kramer, 1979. After his wife leaves him, a work-obsessed Manhattan advertising exec is forced to learn long-neglected parenting skills. But a heated custody battle over the couple's young son deepens the wounds left by the separation. This film won an Oscar for Best Picture. It won Meryl Streep an Oscar for Best Actress. I think the director won the Oscar that year as well. It's another intense movie, another one that's kind of hard to rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
I put it up there with like the newer one with Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, Marriage Story. It's a very, very similar track. But it's a really good movie. The Verdict with Paul Newman. Tell me either of you guys have seen this one.
No.
I have not, no.
Oh, put it on your list. Good movie. An
Think I'll be another movie for that new potluck?
Yeah, it's going to be your potluck movie. An outcast, alcoholic Boston lawyer sees the chance to salvage his career and self-respect by taking a medical malpractice case to trial rather than settling out of court. Stars Paul Newman, Charlotte Rampling, Jack Warden, James Mason, 1982. One of Paul Newman's best performances. I think he was nominated for it. It's a really good movie. I recommend checking it out. Now we get to our top 6 here. I'm already going to say that number 6 needs to be higher.
Mm-hmm. You need me on that wall.
You want me on that wall. Who's going to
rip
do
out
it?
your head, pull out your eyes, and piss in your skull, or something like that?
Who's going to do it? You, Lieutenant Weinberg. You sleep under the very blanket of freedom that I provide, and then you question how I provide it.
I'd rather you just say thank you and went
about your business. That's not even the best line in the movie. The best line in the movie is before the trial, when they meet him on the beach in Cuba, and he's like, I tell you, there's nothing like a blowjob from a superior officer. But now that I'm a colonel, I'm going to have to wait for some broad to become president. Jack Nicholson. One of his best performances as well. So if you haven't guessed it yet, we're talking about A Few Good Men from 1992. Military lawyer Lieutenant Daniel Caffey defends Marines accused of murder. They contend that they were acting under orders. One of Tom Cruise's best performances. Jack Nicholson, Oscar nominated for this role. Any other year he would have won, but this year he went up against Gene Hackman in Unforgiven, and Gene Hackman took the Oscar. Demi Moore, Kevin Bacon's in this. Kiefer Sutherland has a role in this.
Noah Wiley's
in it.
Jr.
Kevin Pollak is the other lawyer on Tom Cruise's team. It's great movie, directed by Rob Reiner, one of his best films. I can't say enough about this movie. I think it definitely needs to be higher than number 6.
What's this written by Aaron Sorkin?
It is written by Aaron Sorkin, yes.
You
can tell by the dialogue. Yeah, you can tell the dialogue. It's a Sorkin film. Few Good Men, for me, is probably my top 3. My top 3, if you include comedies in the list, To Kill a Mockingbird, My Cousin Vinny, and A Few Good Men are my top 3. I love A Few Good Men. Witness for the Prosecution is number 5 on the list, 1957. Tyrone Power, Marlene Dietrich. A veteran British barrister must defend his client in a murder trial that has surprise after surprise. The older you get into Hollywood films, the less likely I may have seen it. I have not seen Witness for the Prosecution, so I can't really say much on this. Anatomy of a Murder, 1959, with James Stewart. James Stewart again, Jimmy Stewart. An upstate Michigan lawyer defends a soldier who claims he killed an innkeeper due to temporary insanity after the victim raped his wife. What is the truth, and what will win his case? This is a good movie. A crazy subject matter for 1959. It's kind of bold for a film from 1959, but it's a Jimmy Stewart film. It's a good film. Judgment at Nuremberg, number 3, 1961. In 1948, an American court in occupied Germany tries 4 Nazi judged for war crimes. The Spencer Tracy film, Burt Lancaster, Richard Widmark, another really good film. It's also a good war film as well as a courtroom film.
Yeah, but just think what that kind of movie like that would be like made today.
Mm.
Ooh. That would be a rough movie.
It'd be a rough movie to make, but I see it being made today.
No, I'm just
There's
saying.
been some pretty rough war films.
But I'm just saying, back in 1961, they kind of softened some of the stuff up.
Yeah. Be
This
surprised.
would be-
It's still a good movie.
Oh yeah, it is a good movie. I've seen it.
Mm. Number 2 is another amazing film. Definitely should be in the top 5. 12 Angry Men from 1957, starring Henry Fonda, Lee J. Cobb, Martin Balsam, and John Fiedler. The jury in a New York City murder trial is frustrated by a single member whose skeptical caution forces them to more carefully consider the evidence before jumping to a hasty verdict. This is an interesting one because now you're seeing it from the jury's point of view.
Right.
The majority of the film takes place in the jury room as these 12 men argue with each other over whether or not this young man is guilty. There was a remake in the 90s starring Jack Lemmon and George C. Scott and a host of other actors that was, as far as remakes go, was a really good remake of the film. Followed the same story, but was a little more of a modern, take on it. And number 1, as we already said when we started this, is To Kill a Mockingbird. I am not going to argue that. I think To Kill a Mockingbird is the best courtroom film I've ever seen. You're talking about a man who's kind of reluctant to defend this guy, but does it anyway. Atticus Finch, a widowed lawyer in Depression-era Alabama, defends a black man against an undeserved rape charge and tries to educate his young children against prejudice. Another sad film, because it doesn't really end the way you hope it will, but amazing performance from Gregory Peck. Even the little kids are great in it. It's the debut performance of Robert Duvall as Boo Radley. In a non-speaking role. Man, if you've never seen To Kill a Mockingbird out there in podcast land, you are sleeping on a classic. Just go out and see this movie.
Well, you don't have to go out. Honestly, you can probably get it at home.
Probably get it on it's on Prime Video.
I don't know if there are any theaters still showing it right now.
It's for rent or buy on Prime Video.
Rent or buy on Prime Video right now. Yeah, if you want to see any movie, if you haven't seen any movie on this list, at least see To Kill a Mockingbird. So that brings us to our little comedy list here. This is a shorter list. We'll fly through this one probably. Starting from the bottom, this is only 16 films on the comedy list. I feel like it's hard to make a courtroom comedy. It's kind of limited.
Not for Pauly Shore.
Not for Pauly Shore.
Jesus.
Is that on this list? Please tell me it is. Just so I can shit on it, I want it to be on this list.
I don't think it is. Yeah, it is.
It is? No, it's not.
Is it? No, no.
Jury
not,
Duty
right.
is the name of the film, but I don't see it on here.
I don't see it either.
Did you see that he had the balls to make a fake trailer of him playing Richard Simmons in a Richard Simmons biography?
And Richard Simmons says, nah. Richard
Simmons came out and he's like, I didn't authorize it. I'm not doing any biographies about my life. This has nothing to do with me. Number 16 on the list, Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde. This is how hard they're scratching to get comedies on this list, because this shouldn't be on any list. Got a 4.8 on IMDb. Number 15, Trial and Error from 1997, starring
Kramer.
Is that Kramer? It's Kramer. Michael Richards
Kramer.
and Jeff Daniels. And Charlize Theron's in this film. An actor poses as a lawyer to help a sick friend and problems
How
develop.
old is she? Like 7?
1997. This is early for her. She had just did. She was in That Thing You Do in the 90s as well. That was her first movie. Legal Eagles, 1986, with Robert Redford, Deborah Winger. Yeah, that's a good. This is one that should be on a list of comedy courtroom films.
It should probably be higher than 14.
It probably should be higher than 14. Should definitely be higher than B movie.
Exactly.
How the fuck did that end up on here?
God knows.
B movie is the animated film with Jerry Seinfeld voicing a bee.
It is.
Then they need to defend themselves to keep the bees going.
Yeah, because she has a relationship with the bee. It's really weird.
They're taking my honey.
I'm taking that movie off the fucking list and moving Legal Eagles up.
Yeah.
He got Trial and Error from 1962. Peter Sellers. It's going to be interesting if Peter Sellers is in it. An incompetent barrister is assigned to defend an accused wife murderer. Ted 2. Ted 2 actually is a court film. He's defending his right to get married because he's trying to prove that he's a sentient being. It's kind of like that episode of Star Trek, Mike, where Data has to prove that he's sentient so that he doesn't get taken apart. Newlywed couple Ted and Tammy Lynn.
Probably not nearly as good as that.
It's still a pretty funny fucking movie. Newlywed couple Ted and Tammy Lynn want to have a baby, but in order to qualify to be a parent, Ted has to prove that he's a person in a court of law. What does he end up making his name? His legal last name is Clubber Lang. So his name is Ted Clubber Lang. Legally Blonde is number 10. So I would definitely put the first Legally Blonde on this list before I put Legally Blonde 2. Elle Woods, a fashionable sorority queen, is dumped by her boyfriend. She decides to follow him to law school. While she is there, she figures out that there's more to her than just looks. The movie that made Reese Witherspoon a megastar. Legally Blonde. I don't know the next movie on the list. Number 9.
Did that movie make her a megastar, though?
What, Legally Blonde?
Yeah. Wasn't she pretty much rising the ladder anyway?
She was kind of rising the ladder anyway, but this is like her first like major hit.
Yeah.
Like, this movie made almost $100 million in the box office domestically. Like, that's pretty decent for 2001. You know, she was already in a few like smaller films. She was in a horror movie called Fear with Mark Wahlberg prior to this, when she was like a teenage actress.
Wasn't she?
She was in Cruel Intentions.
Cruel Intentions.
Prior to this, but this is like the one that made her.
She did, Return to Lonesome Dove miniseries.
Yeah, but this is like in all those movies though, she was like a supporting character. This is like the movie that made her a top bill.
The star.
Yeah, she became the star after this. The next one I don't know. Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean from 1972. Paul Newman. Don't know this one. In Vinegaroon, Texas, former outlaw Roy Bean appoints himself the judge for the region and dispenses his brand of justice. Okay. One of Mike's favorite actors is the number 8, Liar Liar, with Jim Carrey.
Moving on.
It's a funny movie. It's actually a pretty good movie. He's a pathological liar and a lawyer, but finds his career turned upside down when he inexplicably cannot physically lie for 24 whole hours. And it's kind of funny to see him try to, defend people in court when he can't lie for them. The next one I feel is like a very underseen film. And it's interesting because it stars Vin Diesel.
Peter Dinklage.
This movie is called Find Me Guilty. It's based on a true story of a low-level gangster who defends himself in court. Vin Diesel stars as the gangster Jackie DiNascorcio. In the late 80s, he defended himself in court in what became the longest criminal trial in American judicial history. He's defending himself. Peter Dinklage is like his co-counsel. It's directed by Sidney Lumet. Vin Diesel actually gained weight for the role to make himself look like this schlubby, like older, like gangster character. He has hair in the film, which is kind of odd. It's a different role for him, and he's actually pretty good in it. It's actually a pretty good movie. The trial, I think, ended up going for almost like 2 years or something. And the jury was sequestered that whole time. It's pretty crazy.
And that's why you don't want jury duty.
Yeah. You don't want federal jury duty, at least. Chicago, number 6. Movie musical, won Best Picture in 2003. Stars Renee Zellweger, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Richard Gere, Taye Diggs, Queen Latifah, John C. Reilly. It's a pretty entertaining film. If you're somebody who likes musicals, it's
not as good as Richard Gere was in his other lawyer role.
No, I think he's much better in Primal Fear. But he's still pretty good in this film too. I didn't know he could sing, so that kind of comes out in this. Catherine Zeta-Jones won Oscar for Best Supporting Actress for this film. It won Best Picture. It's a good movie. Adam's Rib, number 5, 1949, starring Spencer Tracy, Katharine Hepburn. Very old film that I have not seen. I've heard of it. I know it's pretty beloved in the circles of people who have seen the film, but I have not seen it. Domestic and professional tensions mount when a husband and wife work as opposing lawyers in a case involving a woman who shot her husband.
You can see it could be funny just by reading this film.
Just reading that and looking at you got Tracy and Hepburn, who are great together on film anyway.
And they're grabbing a very small pair of pants.
Yes, for some reason, yeah.
Because both of them want to wear the pants.
Yeah. For my money, number 4 should be number 1. But I can see why some of the other ones
be on this list since it was on the other list.
Yeah, right. Miracle on 34th Street is number 2 on this list, so it's apparently a comedy and a drama. But number 4 on the list is My Cousin Vinny.
Shouldn't be on the drama list.
Shouldn't be on the drama list. Definitely on the comedy list. Should be higher. I think this is number 1. I love My Cousin Vinny. I think it's a very funny movie. I think it still holds up today. Oscar-winning performance from Marissa Tomei. Fred Gwynn, who best known as Herman Munster, as the judge in a really funny role. Joe Pesci at his pesciest. He had just come off his Oscar win for Goodfellas when he did this film.
Yeah.
I love this movie. 2 New Yorkers accused of murder in a rural Alabama town while on their way back from college call in the help of one of their cousins, a loudmouth lawyer with no trial experience. I think my favorite scene is when he goes to visit him in the jail cell for the first time. And Ralph Macchio, who plays his cousin, is sleeping, and the other guy is waiting for somebody to come to the jail cell and try to rape him. And he doesn't know that Joe Pesci's the lawyer yet, and he thinks he's there to rape him. He's like, I'm doing you a favor. And he's like, you're doing me a favor? Listen, buddy, one way or another, you're fucked. You're getting fucked. It's so funny. That and my other favorite line in the film is, will the counsel like to make his plea for the jury? And he walks up to the jury box and he goes, everything that the prosecution just said is bullshit.
Bullshit.
Bullshit. Plus you have the ever famous, my biological clock is ticking like this. My Cousin Vinny should be number 1. Number 3 is another classic, 1936. I have seen this one, even though this is a really old one. Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. An unassuming greeting card poet from a small town in Vermont heads to New York City upon inheriting a massive fortune and immediately is hounded by those who wish to take advantage of him. Again, the courtroom part of this is like a smaller part.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and I don't know. Most people out there who are not familiar with this film may be at least familiar with the remake that Adam Sandler made called Mr. Deeds.
No.
Not as good as the original Gary Cooper one.
Gary Cooper.
And number 1 on this list, Matter of Life and Death from 1946. The British wartime aviator who cheats death must argue for his life before a celestial court, hoping to prolong his fledgling romance with an American girl. So it's kind of like defending your life. that movie that I talked about on Movies of Time Forgot, where he has to defend himself in heaven in order to go to heaven or have to relive his life. In this case, Michael Powell is defending that he needs to go back to Earth because of this romance that he has with this American girl. I don't know much about this film.
Michael Powell, the director. You mean David Nevin?
David Nevin. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was looking at the wrong thing. David Nevin is the star. I don't know much about this film either. It's another one that's a little bit on the older end for me. I'm really busy trying to get caught up with these Oscar winners. I don't have time to go back to the 30s and 40s.
I hear you.
Now,
I hear you. Can I say there's a, and I don't recall this being on the original list, but there's one that's kind of not in there that I feel should have been in there, and that was The Client. Susan Sarandon.
Yeah, Susan Sarandon, Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that one that probably should have been on the drama list as well. That's another Grisham one.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Client. So I have an honorable mention here. It was on the drama list, but I skipped it because I wanted to save it for my last category. Honorable mention for the most batshit crazy law movie of all time. That movie is The Devil's Advocate, starring Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves. This movie is about as batshit crazy can be. It is an exceptionally adept Florida lawyer is offered a job at a high-end New York City law firm with a high-end boss, the biggest opportunity in his career to date. What that description from IMDb is lacking is the fact that his boss, Al Pacino, the character's name is John Milton, which is a hint. John Milton wrote the book Paradise Lost, that he is the devil. The devil owns this law firm and has recruited Keanu Reeves' lawyer character to be a lawyer at his firm, only to reveal to him at the end that he is actually the devil's son, and he brought him along to help him birth the Antichrist. Yes, all of that is in that film. This movie is Al Pacino at his Al Pacinoiest. You thought she's got a great ass and you got your head way up at line is over the top from Heat. This whole fucking movie is over the top. It also co-stars Charlize Theron, another early role
Definitely
for her.
my favorite sin.
Yeah, Vanity, definitely one of my favorite sins. Connie Nielsen's in this. Jeffrey Jones, Craig T. Nelson. I mean, I can't say enough about how fucking crazy this movie is. I love it.
What are you? Oh, I have so many names. Satan, call me Dad.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm trying to think of some other shit he says. There's so many fucking things he says that are over the top in this film. There's a scene where they're on a subway train and they're getting harassed by this gangbanger guy, and he starts speaking to the guy in Spanish about how his wife's at home cheating on him right now. Who in their right mind, Kevin, could possibly deny the 20th century was entirely mine? I wish I could do it on Al Pacino. What about love?
Freedom, baby, is never just having to say you're sorry.
The worst vice is advice. Love is overrated. Biochemically no different than eating large quantities of chocolate. Fucking movie nuts.
Guilt is
Mike.
like a bag of fucking bricks. All you gotta do is set it down.
Mike, you have any beer trivia history for us this evening?
I got some beer history for you. You're gonna love this one, guys. In 1620, pilgrims aboard the Mayflower were forced to land at Plymouth Rock due to their diminishing beer supplies. One passenger, William Bradford, complained that he and other passengers were hastened to shore and made to drink water that the seamen might have more beer to drink.
I saved the beer.
For the sailor, yeah. Get off my ship. We're drinking the goddamn beer.
That's right. Seamen need beer.
That's how they fought the scurvy. Let's revisit our drinks for this evening. I was drinking a Tequila Mockingbird margarita Margaritas are always good, so I'm not going to complain too much about it. Mike had a mint julep.
Very tasty.
And your second one was
a whiskey sour.
Okay.
Double.
How you feeling?
I feel good. I'm not feeling too many aches and pains at the moment. That's for sure.
That's good. And Kev, you had?
I had the cream ale from Two Silos, which my wife brought. It was okay. It was a little light. Could have dealt with heavier flavor, like I'm tasting in the Victory Coffee Cake Ale. It's a little heavy, but it's okay.
All right, thank you everybody for joining us for episode 137. You can handle the booze, as we talked about some of our some courtroom films. We hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Don't forget, you can email us at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or go to linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media podcast links. You can also go to deluxeeditionnetwork.com to find out more about our podcast and the other podcasts that belong to the Deluxe Edition Network. The Den. Support us by going to Patreon or buying our merchandise at teespring.com. Remember, you can always like, download, subscribe to our show. We are on all podcast platforms, including Spotify, Good Pods, Apple Pods, etc. We really would like some more of those subscribes and downloads out there if you can, help us out. Don't forget to stop by the crossroads between pickled and fermented next time around for episode 138. Episode 138 is titled, And Now for Something Completely Different. It's going to be a deep dive into Monty Python's Flying Circus. I'm Leo.
Kevin.
I'm Mike.
You've been listening to Films and Fermentation Podcast. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.